Hey guys, King of Charmanders here, and today I bring to you a video on the Best Beginner's Guide 2024. My top tips for the 1-year anniversary of Monster Hunter Now. So this video is a beginner's guide for new hunters to Monster Hunter Now. Welcome if you are new, if you are a veteran. Well, here's a review of all the stuff you already know, or most of it. This guide is updated for 2024 and contains tips for all the content new players need to know. I will also be submitting this video for the hashtag mhn.quest that may be featured on the official Monster Hunter Now blog. So some of my viewers have been asking for this, so I might as well just knock out two birds with one stone and submit this for the contest, and hopefully we win. But either or, I just really hope this helps new players out in the new 1 year of 2024 of Monster Hunter Now. First, we're going to start off with making your Monster Hunter Now account. Here's an important note. If you have a referral code, make sure you use it when you are making your account. If you don't have one, you have 72 hours or 3 days after you reach Hunter Rank 6 to do this from the friends list. So here's the thing, if you use somebody else's referral code, you will get the following rewards after reaching Hunter Rank 20. You get 2 pink paintballs, 3 potions, and 1000 Zenny. And I will cover where to find your referral code later in this video. Next up, we have my tips for the tutorial. Make sure you read the tutorial and pay attention. There are a lot of important gameplay details in the tutorial that you can easily miss if you just try to skip through it all. I know you don't want to read the black and white ink, but there's a lot of important details like I mentioned. Little things that you may miss, and then later on you're like, oh wait, you could do that? And the tutorial does a great job of covering these little things. So again, make sure you pay attention. And you won't be able to progress past the prologue if you don't follow the tutorial anyways. So you have to follow steps of the tutorial in order to go on to the next part. But again, make sure you read all these little details because they're definitely helpful for you now and in the future. However, there are some important details the tutorial won't tell you. And here's the first one. Unlimited first aid meds until Hunter Rank 11. When your first aid meds go below 10, you will get a refill from your Palico. Here I'm about to get slapped by the Hakulu Yaku and I'm going to use a potion on purpose. And you'll get these free first aid med refills until Hunter Rank 11. As you see right here, bam, free refill. And then you just got a refill for your first aid meds. And then again, it will come up to 10 until you reach Hunter Rank 11. So take advantage of this by getting used to the game's mechanics and practicing as much as you want without worrying about healing items. Now here's the thing, make sure you have 10 first aid meds before you go past Hunter Rank 11. Keep getting those refills, and right before you hit HR 12, make sure you have 10 first aid meds. This is really important because you're not going to get more until the daily limit next time around. And now we have finishing the prologue. The prologue will require you to defeat small and large monsters. You will also have to gather materials from small and large gathering points. As you finish the prologue, you will be able to earn Hunter Rank points without completing quests. So you can slay large monsters, and everyone you slay will give you Hunter Rank points and allow you to level up like right here. You must also finish the prologue in order to participate in events. So events will give you, if you read additional information for all events, it's literally going to say you must finish the prologue. So finish the prologue so that you can start participating in all the cool events and hopefully get some of those sweet rewards from those event quests. But before we move on, I hope you heeded my advice and you saw I went to HR 11. Hopefully you heeded my advice and you got 10 first aid meds. Because after this, you're not going to get free refills, and we're gonna have to learn how to heal in Monster Hunter Now. There are currently 2 ways to heal in Monster Hunter Now. At number 1, the first way is every 36 seconds, you will heal 1% of your maximum HP. So as long as you're patient, you just wait, you'll be able to heal your HP. And number 2, the second way, using healing items like first aid meds and potions. And just in case you are wondering, here's some tips on healing. You will not passively heal every 36 seconds in active hunt battles, so you're not going to magically regenerate your health while you are hunting a monster. It can only be done outside of hunts. First aid meds reset daily at 5 AM your local time, so if you're just itching to play again and you it's really close to 5 a.m., well, guess what? Your first aid meds, which you're gonna get daily, you will get 5 of them daily, are coming. And first aid meds also have a limit of 10 in your inventory. So here's a little trick. So you can have 10 first aid meds in your inventory, but you can also keep a total of 15 first aid meds by keeping those 10 in your inventory and keeping the 5 daily reset unclaimed. But the thing is, if you do not use those 5 unclaimed, you will lose them. So make sure you keep track of your healing items and ensure you're topping off, or you're just okay with not using the 5 unclaimed for the next day. Moving on, there are some cool features in Monster Hunter now. Starting off with Dimensional Links, or DLs for short. Dimensional Link monsters unlock when you reach HR 11. So when you reach Hunter Rank 11, this is when you unlock Dimensional Links. And when you come across monsters with a green icon, that is a Dimensional Link monster. You can also use the Join Hunts tab to hunt these monsters. By waiting in the lobby, you can use global matchmaking to pair up with players around the world who are fighting the same level of monster. You can also hunt these monsters solo, however it is recommended you do them in a group. This is because hunting monsters in groups gives you an extra group hunt reward. You want to get as much as you can when you hunt a monster, all those parts, because you're using a lot of time. So why not wait for one more hunter or more so that you can get that extra group hunt reward slot. Sometimes you might get something really good and you never know. However, you must unlock 8-star monsters in the preseason story to do 8-star dimensional links. Of course, 8-star is much more advanced, but if you want to tackle 8-star DLs, you must unlock 8-star monsters first. There's also another feature called the Season Pass, and this will also unlock and appear when you reach Hunter Rank 11. You can get rewards by obtaining season tier points. Getting a certain amount of points will increase your tier level. Now there is a free pass and a premium pass. Of course, the premium pass, this costs gems to purchase. And you can spend gems to increase your tier level automatically. However, this is not recommended unless you're close to the end. But the thing is, it might be worth it because premium pass holders will get both the free and premium rewards as you reach higher tier levels. So when you claim it, you can get both and not just the free path. And you can gain season tier points by defeating large monsters and completing quests. But wait, there's more! This is something called the Monster Tracker, and here's how to use this feature. This feature allows you to hunt a limited number of monsters per day and unlocks after you complete Chapter 2 of the preseason story. However, you can only encounter monsters you have unlocked in the story and up to their max star strength. Here's an example. If you unlock Great Jagras and 5-star monsters, then you can hunt up to a 5-star Great Jagras. You can also hunt 1, 2, 3, and 4-star Great Jagras, so up to 5 stars. And you have to defeat a certain amount of monsters to hunt your tracked monster. And this number increases every time you use the Monster Tracker. So it's not like a same number, nope, it's 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, I think 20, something like that, but yeah. For more info, take a look at my Monster Tracker guide in the video description. So I'm going to put a guide in the video description if you need to know more about the Monster Tracker or you're a little confused. I got more details in those videos in the video description. Moving on, we have a feature I wish I had when I started playing the game, was how to offload materials or selling materials for Zenny. So selling materials for Zenny is called offloading materials. You can clear inventory space by selling excess materials in your inventory. To do this, like you just saw right here, you click on the coin icon next to the sword tab to use this feature. After this, you can go ahead and select any number of monster materials you have in your inventory. As you see, I have a lot right here. And then you can go ahead and click the OK button. And once you're done, you will sell those materials and you will make Zenny based on the amount you make. You see there's a Zenny earned little thing right there. Well, that's how much you're going to make after you sell these materials. And if you need more info, take a look at my selling materials guide in the video description. So if you need more details on this, on how to do it, or any tips, definitely take a look at the video description. As for the next feature, we have Hunt-a-thons, or hats for short. This feature unlocks at HR 11, and as you saw right here, it spawns at large gathering points. What Hunt-a-thons do, it allows you to hunt multiple monsters in succession. So you get to hunt up to 5 monsters, and they get stronger and stronger as you get to the end. Now the thing is, Hunt-a-thons will begin at specified times, and for more details, check my Hunt-a-thon guide in the video description. But we're not done yet, because there's something else that appears at large gathering nodes, and that's Elder Dragon Interceptions, or EDIs for short. These unlock at Hunter rank 11, and again they spawn at large gathering points, just like hats, and allow you to hunt Elder Dragons, which are some of the most powerful monsters in the Monster Hunter franchise. These monsters have 2 phases, and Elder Dragons have some of the strongest weapons and armor in the game. Check out my EDI guide in the video description for more details. And while you see me hunting an 8-star Kushala Diora here, unfortunately there are Hunt-a-thon and Elder Dragon Interception 8-star plus requirements. As the title mentions, there is a requirement for 8 and above star hats and EDIs. For Hunt-a-thons, in order to fight 8-star monsters in Hunt-a-thons, you must be HR 50 plus. For 9-star monsters, you must be HR 100 plus. And for 10-star monsters, you must be HR 150 plus. For Elder Dragon Interceptions, you must be at 8 stars, HR 100 plus. At 9 stars, HR 150 plus. And at 10 stars, HR 200 plus. Now, Hunt-a-thons and Elder Dragon Interceptions have very similar features. And here's my tips for both. Hats and EDIs have global matchmaking, just like dimensional links. To use global matchmaking, just like you saw in this video right here, you just wait in the lobby until more hunters join your hunt. You can participate in either a Hunt-a-thon or Elder Dragon Interception for free every 3 hours. This is way better than Pokemon Go, where you only get 1 free raid pass a day, so rejoice. In order to do more outside of your 3-hour free window, you must use an Ultra Hunting ticket that can be purchased in the shop. In addition, Hunt-a-thons and Elder Dragon Interceptions appear in their preliminary state at designated points, around 6:55 AM local time. Again, that's local time, so that's your time. With the first session starting around 7:15 AM. And the final EDI/hats of the day begin approximately at 10:40 PM local time and conclude around 11:05 PM. And here's another important thing: you cannot gather materials from a Hunt-a-thon/Elder Dragon Interception points that have an active hat/EDI. But if it's in its preliminary state, you can. So if you try to click on it, you won't be able to get whatever large gathering node resource you're looking for. So just make sure you keep that in mind before you start trying to tap it to oblivion, hoping that you can get those resources instead of having to encounter the hat or EDI that's on top of it. Next up, while we do have Elder Dragons, we also have boss update monsters. So in every major update, there are large monsters that kind of serve as the boss update monsters. You usually see them in the titles and in the trailers, and they're featured, and they have really cool animations, and they're usually centered around these really powerful monsters. And some of these are Devil Joe, Zinnover, and just like you see right here, I'm taking on something known as Mizutsune. Now the thing is, you usually can't track these boss large monsters, and they usually are featured in Hunt-a-thons and events. Last but not least, we have the Subspecies Monsters, and sub-monsters have powerful versions called subspecies. For example, Diablos has a subspecies called Black Diablos, and here we are facing one right now. As you see, she is far more aggressive and has a powerful charge attack that its regular cousin does not. So it has more moves. And just like a Street Fighter character in its alternate form, it's going to be pretty freaking cool when you fight them, but not cool for all the healing items you might spend trying to take them down if you don't have a lot of experience. But the thing is, subspecies monsters are totally worth hunting because they carry some of the most powerful weapons and armor in the game. However, powering up weapons and armor takes materials, and you can get a lot of them thanks to this Friends Quest feature. This feature is unlocked when you reach Hunter rank 12, and regardless of the distance between you and your friends, up to 4 hunters can participate in a single friend quest. And you can participate in 1 friend quest per week, as well as being able to repeat the same quest up to 5 times during that week. Keep in mind you only get the rewards for the first completion. The other 4 completions will only give you season tier points and hunter rank points. And rewards vary as there are 3 difficulties. You have easy, medium, and hard. One of the most important notes about Friends Quest is that you cannot reset once you have selected a Friends Quest. You will have to wait till next week when it opens up again. So you can't just go ahead and ditch the Friend Quest you're doing right now. When you lock it in, you are locked in until next week. So make sure you be careful at which one you want to select. Up next, you want to unlock more weapons other than the sword and shield? Well, here's when you do. The Greatsword is unlocked after you complete Chapter 2, Part 1 of the preseason story. So like you see right here, I complete Part 1 and bam, it shall unlock the Greatsword. While the Longsword, Hammer, Light Bowgun, Bow, Lance, Dual Blades, Charge Blade, and Gun Lance are all unlocked after you complete all of Chapter 2. So you slay the 2-star Great Gyros and bam, you will be able to unlock all the other weapons. And it's safe to assume the new Heavy Bowgun for Season 3, which is the new weapon type, will also unlock after completing Chapter 2 of the preseason story. As you see right here, you will unlock all of the weapons outside of the Greatsword and the Sword and Shield when you complete Chapter 2. In addition, weapons have something called damage types, and there are 3 types. You have Sever, Blunt, and Ranged. Each weapon type can do 1 or multiple damage types. For example, the Sword and Shield's combos begin with Sever by cutting with the sword, and then end with Blunt with its shield bashing attacks. So the Sword and Shield has 2 types, Sever and Blunt, depending on where you're at in its combos. You will also do more or less damage depending on what damage type you are using against a specific monster part. So there are areas in a monster when you attack that certain part, and it will scale depending on which damage type you are using. So keep that in mind. And you can also do something really cool like in the main series games, and that's break monster parts. So breaking monster parts will give you an extra reward slot at the end of the hunt. You need to do a certain percentage of the monster's total HP to break a monster part. So like you see in this circled portion right here, to break Great Jagras' head, you need to do 40% of its total HP. And you can also have a chance of getting certain rarity rewards by breaking a specific monster part. For example, breaking the head of Great Jagras will give you a chance at a rarity 3 drop. And here's an important note, some parts of a monster can only be broken by a specific damage type. And here's 2 examples. For one, only Sever attacks can cut tails. And the second one, only Blunt attacks can break Barrett's head. And here are my tips on damage types and breaking monster parts. The bow's special skill Dragon Piercer does Sever damage, so you can use it to cut tails. A light bowgun can do Sever damage if it has slicing ammo, so just because you're using a ranged weapon, don't think there isn't a way for you to cut tails. Attacks that do blunt damage can stun monsters, and more on that later. And some monsters have left and right parts that can be broken. For example, both of Legiana's wings can be broken, and some parts can be broken twice. Example of this is Sisiaku's head, where you can break its head 2 times. Now that we cover the damage types, we're going to cover the pros and cons of melee weapons. And here are the pros. Various mechanics that can make gameplay a lot of fun. They also have a wide variety of choices to choose from. They have weapon types that can do blunt damage and inflict stun. And it can be easy to hit part break targets due to lock-on. However, here are the cons of melee weapons. As melee, you need to be close to the monster, and this can expose you to a monster's close range attacks. Due to this, you may use more healing items due to being more exposed to close range movesets. And unfortunately, some melee weapons have mechanics that can be difficult to master, so it's going to take you a minute before you get used to them and you just start doing a whole ton of damage with melee weapons. Now that we covered melee, we have the pros and cons of ranged weapons. The pros of ranged weapons are you can use less potions because you are attacking a monster from range. You can also easily target weak spots that most melee weapons cannot reach, and this is due to the full gyro mode. I have it circled right here. Turn that on the top right. When it says full, you can tilt your phone and you can go ahead and aim at weak spots of a monster. And you can also out DPS, or damage per second, melee weapons, as you do not have to dodge as often. Being far away takes out a monster's close range movesets, allowing you to engage it from afar and take out all that nonsense and give you an easier time. However, just because ranged weapons can do this, this doesn't mean that they aren't without cons, as they require you to master effective range, which is how far away you have to be from a monster to do the most damage with ranged. So you need to be able to master the distance. If you don't have the right distance, you're not going to do the best amount of damage with ranged weaponry. And while full gyro mode is cool to look at and cool to aim with by tilting your phone, it requires you to learn how to use full gyro mode. So it's not just a walk in a park, you need to be able to aim and tilt at certain angles to get the most out of your ranged weapons. Along with that, you also heavily rely on maxing out certain skills to maximize performance. For example, you need to max out focus level 5 for bows and reload speed and recoil down level 3 for bow guns. Having to dedicate all of these slots to these specific skills can take away other options you have for damage, and it can be quite painful to gather the materials and equipment to max these out. Up next, we have elemental damage types. So you don't just have damage types for weapons, you also have elemental damage. And there are 5 elemental damage types in Monster Hunter now. You have fire, water, thunder, ice, and dragon. These elements will do more damage when you use them against a monster that is weak to that element. And some monsters have only one elemental weakness, while others may have multiples. But wait, there's more! We also have elemental status types, and there are 5 elemental status buildup types in Monster Hunter now. You have poison, paralysis, sleep, blast, and stun. And these elements will inflict status buildup when you attack with them. After reaching a certain limit, the monster will be inflicted with the elemental status you are using. Poison, paralysis, sleep, and blast can only be inflicted by having a weapon with its element or an ammo type. For example, melee weapons, they will have the respective element, and ranged weapons will have something called an ammo type. And a good example of this is Nightshade Palumu, which has sleep ammo, which of course is going to inflict sleep when you blast a monster with the sleep ammo. And here's a note, sticky ammo from bowguns can also build up and inflict stun. So it's not just exclusive to melee weapons. Yes, ranged weapons can also stun a monster, but again, it just depends on the ammo. And now that you know the elemental status types, well, what do they do? Well, here's their effects. For poison, monsters' health will be reduced for a certain period of time. For paralysis, a monster will be unable to appear for a certain period of time. For sleep, the monster will of course fall asleep. The first attack though, after it is completely asleep, will wake it up, but the attack will do more damage. For blast, it will do a fixed amount of damage, which is about 5% rounded up, of the monster's total health per activation. And last but not least, you have stun. Now here's the thing, monsters will be incapable of any action for a short period of time when you stun them. However, in order for you to inflict stun, you must target the head to build stun value. So you gotta go after that dome. It's not like sleep where you could attack any part of the body and they'll fall asleep. Nope, for stun, again, you must target the head. Up next, we have raw/non-elemental damage. So damage that has no element is more commonly known as raw damage. And raw damage can be effectively used against all monsters. However, in most scenarios, elemental damage is preferred over raw damage, because when you use a element and the monster is weak to that element, it does a lot of damage and it will very likely do more damage. However, that's only in most scenarios. There are some scenarios where raw damage can overtake elemental damage. And here are my tips for raw/elemental damage and elemental status. When you use a strong element against a monster, both raw and elemental damage values are calculated. However, when you're using raw or an element that is not strong, only raw damage values are calculated. Remember the last slide we were talking about? This is why most of the time element is preferred. If you use raw, you should use skills that boost your attack power as high as possible. And if you use elemental damage, you should use skills that boost your elemental attack value as high as possible. An example of this is fire attack, and getting it to level 5 is preferred. However, the weird thing is, elemental stats attack skill boosts are not very important early game, so I'm not going to go into that. That's very advanced. And there is one more thing about damage you should know about, and that's Affinity. So this section is, what is Affinity? And Affinity is the critical chance / damage of Monster Hunter. And here's something very important. Affinity can be positive or negative. When Affinity is positive, you have a chance to do 25% more damage. On the other hand, when Affinity is negative, you have a chance to do 25% less damage. And here's an example in case you're confused. 30% Affinity would give you a 30% chance to do 25% more damage, while negative 30% Affinity would give you a 30% chance to do 25% less damage. Positive critical hits have red colored slashes, and negative critical hits have black / purple colored slashes. So if you look at these two examples right here, you'll see a clear example of what I mean by colored slashes for positive and negative Affinity. And this brings us to my tips on Affinity. So Affinity takes both raw and elemental damage into account when it's calculated. However, it is more important to work towards getting elemental damage attack skills as high as possible. For example, fire attack to level 5. If you look in the middle right here, as you see in the comparisons, elemental attack level 5 is outdoing critical eye level 5 for Affinity. Why is that? Because in order to do a high amount of damage with Affinity, you must have high attack values first. To summarize, use equipment skills that increase raw and elemental values first before percentage increases like Affinity. So again, high values, and then you go to percentages. Since you are a beginner, you don't have to worry about this too much because you don't have high values for raw and or elemental. However, even for beginners, I find this question happening a lot. So again, increase your values first and then worry about Affinity later. Speaking of equipment skills, what are they? Well, weapons and armor have equipment skills that boost your offensive and defensive abilities. Upgrading weapons and armor may unlock their equipment skills and or upgrade a current skill. For example, Gyrotodus legs unlock another skill and add one more level to another skill at grade 6. You have focus level 1 at grade 3, then you unlock both focus and last stand at level 1 at grade 4, and then you get to upgrade focus level 1 to level 2 at grade 6, and you still have last stand level 1. Now most builds will complete with all armor at grade 6. However, you don't have to worry about this because you're a beginner, but some armors require grade 8 to unlock all of their skills. Now that you know about equipment skills, here are some basic builds and paths for beginners. And we're going to start off with melee. Your melee weapon of choice will be either the bone, puke, or event weapons like the Mr. Beast sword and shield. Your main melee armor build will focus on having lock-on and building attack boost. And here's what's going to happen. Here's your build path. First, you will get the Kulu-Yaku helmet to grade 2. Second, the leather mail to grade 2. Third, the Radabon waist to grade 3. Fourth, the Rathalos helmet to grade 5. Fifth, the Rothian vambraces to grade 6. And sixth, you will get the Bambaro coil to grade 6. You should end up with the build below with attack boost level 5, along with burst level 2 and lock on. And here's an optional. You can have the Kulu-Yaku Greaves at grade 2, which will give you 1 level of critical eye. Now that we covered melee, we're going to go towards ranged. And here's the basic builds and paths for beginners. We're going to start off with a bow. Your bow weapon will be the Puke bow. And your bow armor build will have focus level 2, and we're going to work towards focus level 5. And here's your bow build path. First, the Puke helm at grade 2. Second, the Puke mail at grade 4. Third, the Gyrotodus Greaves at grade 3. Fourth, the Rathalos waist at grade 5. And fifth, the Gyrotodus Greaves to grade 6. For the next ranged weapons, we have the bowguns. And your bowgun weapons will be either the Bone, Barrett, or Bambaro. With your bowgun's armor build, working towards recoil down and reload speed starting at level 2 and working them towards level 3. Your bowgun build path will be first, the Tobi Kadachi helm at grade 2. At second, the Barrett Greaves at grade 2. At third, the Paolumu mail at grade 3. At 4th, the Legion of Vambraces to grade 5. At 5th, the Paolumu Male, grade 6. And at 6th, the Legion of Vambraces to grade 6. Here's an important note. The Coral Puke Waste can give you 1 level of recoil down and 1 level of reload speed. So if you can go after that in the beginning, when you get there, try to build that to grade 6 as fast as possible, as that is a very meta piece for the future. Again, you're a beginner right now, so don't worry about that, but again, that piece is very important and vital for the future, so try to build that as soon as possible. And lastly, to finally close out the weapons and armor section, here are my tips for beginners builds. You can invest in elemental weapons first, however this is very expensive early game. You will not be able to get to elemental attack level 5 without grade 6 equipment first. So unless you upgrade your some armor pieces to grade 6, you can't get to elemental attack level 5. There are 5 elements, which means you're going to invest in 5 different elements or 2 or 3 of them. Versus the overall path, where it is much better to go after a bone, Puke or event weapon and invest in that until grade 7 5 out of 5. This has been proven to get you pretty far into the game without using elements. But just in case, use mhn.quest, a fantastic website, to learn what materials you need to upgrade / forge weapons and armor. I'm going to put it in the video description. That website is amazing. Study it, learn it, and use it, and you'll become an incredible hunter as well as an incredible analyst in the future. Up next, we have loadouts and layered equipment. So you can currently save a max of 10 loadouts so you don't have to manually change equipment every hunt. You can quickly change loadouts by tap and holding your weapon icon on the main character screen or before you begin a hunt, just like these examples right here. And you can also change loadouts by swiping left or right in the equipment menu. So you see me here, I'm swiping right, swipe left to easily swap between your loadouts in the equipment menu. You can also have a max of 10 layered armored loadouts. So be careful before you get super fancy on your wardrobe and start trying to dress up and make all these combos. You can only have 10 sets right now, so use them wisely. And layered armor can be displayed on and off. You can turn this on and off by tapping on the tab. So just tap right here, tap on that, bam, turn it on, turn it off. Next up, we have the wide view. This is still a relatively new feature, but by zooming all the way out, you can use the wide view feature. And you can use wide view by tapping on the icon on the top right of your screen. You see I have it circled right here, tap on that, bam, you could use wide view. And take a look at my wide view guide in the video description for more details. And if you're still wondering, here's how to find your referral code. Step 1, tap on your character icon. Step 2, tap on your guild card. And step 3, you should see your referral code below your friend code, around that area right here. Just in case you need a reference, I have it circled right here. That's my referral code, so if you want to use it, go right ahead, I appreciate it. But if you want a friend to use yours, here it is. And last but not least, before I go to some extra tips, here's the Hunter Guide. The in-game Hunter Guide has a ton of useful information, and you can find the Hunter Guide in your main character menu. Tap on any of the subjects and you will open a window with an article. As you see, I tap right here, bam, it opens a window with a Niantic help article that can have a lot of information on it. Now, the Hunter Guide doesn't tell you a lot of specific details that I tell you in this beginner's guide. However, this is still a great resource to use and might answer your questions. And now here's those extra tips I was talking to you about for beginners. Pick one weapon type and stick to it. Mastering ranged weapons will save you a lot of healing items in the long run. And learn monster attack patterns as much as possible. Because it's always attack over defense. That's how Monster Hunter now operates. It forces you to get better and not get hit by monsters often. You want to get limited by potions? Get hit by monsters. You don't want to get limited by potions and you want to play a lot in Monster Hunter now and not worry about that as much? Master attacking over defending and mastering those attack patterns so that you know what range you must be in order to avoid attacks and your optimal positioning for you to attack. However, don't ignore your armor. Make sure you are building towards your finished build path, especially for ranged weapons. In addition, in the settings menu, be sure to set your graphics as high as possible and have 60 frames per second while hunting. I know it doesn't seem like it matters, but it will actually help you a lot and help you for your frames and dodging and give you a better overall game experience. In the settings menu as well, scroll to the bottom and click download all assets after every update. This will help your game perform better. Now seriously, if you do this and you find yourself loading before every hunt, this might fix that issue and a whole lot of other issues you might have with loading a game if you download all assets. Just because you update a game, this doesn't download all your assets automatically, so make sure you do this. And last but not least for this beginner's guide, here is finishing the preseason story and getting to endgame. Your goal as a beginner is to finish the preseason story and reach 6-star monsters. This will allow you to get weapon and armor refining parts to upgrade your weapons and armor to grade 6. This will also unlock more game features such as drift smelting and volatile territories / large monster invasions. Taking on 6-star monsters is required for them to drop their rarity 5 materials. You need rarity 5 materials to further upgrade your weapons and armor to grade 6 and beyond. So if you're going to start getting those full builds, your full drift smell builds, that's advanced, so this is not beginner stuff. You need to make it and finish the preseason story, make it to the end, get here, and then we can start talking about you getting those full builds as well as starting to make your way to the ultimate promised land, which is Wyvern Gem Shards in the future. Hopefully this beginner's guide helps your progress in Monster Hunter now and answers a whole lot of your questions. Like I mentioned for Wyvern Gem Shards, the reason why that is the future is because you are going to have to work hard and play a lot if you want to reach the true endgame, which is 8-star monsters. At 8-star monsters, monsters will start dropping Wyvern Gem Shards. That's when you know you have made it to the endgame, because that's when you can start going to grade 8 and beyond for your weapons and armor. In order to do that, you need Wyvern Gem Shards or specific rarity 6 monster parts from specific monster types. However, despite all of this, make sure to have fun and play at your own pace. I am an incredibly grindy player. I will play at specific windows and I will set goals. Outside of that, I'm chilling and making content until the next big monster comes along, and then I have to take out my big light bow gun, heavy bow gun, take out my anime bow, and start causing mass monster genocide because I really like having gold medals. Well, not all of them, specific ones. But if I have something in Monster Hunter now, I'm not going to make excuses. I'm going after it with all my heart and soul. And just like the OG Monster Hunter series, I'm going to go and slay them all and build all my weapons and armor that I want. With that being said, please do me a huge favor, like, subscribe, and comment for the YouTube algorithm. This beginner's guide took a very long time, and I hope you enjoyed it, and it really did help you out. Good luck on your grinds, and I will see y'all on the next video.